All right, well, if you're thinking of using margin bottom 0 for your footer, you are absolutely correct. So let's go and do this inside the external style sheet. So this is going to be, again, I like to use a compound rule for this, so I'm going to go footer nav. There we go. If I can get, there we go. All right, there we are. And I'm going to say margin hyphen bottom and 0, of course, just like that. Okay. And let's just make sure that everything is happening here inside the browser, which it is. There goes the gap of space at the bottom, which is great. Again, we'll get into formatting the actual menu items. There's the gap of space on the left-hand side. I want to make these guys a little bit bigger and space them apart and all that good stuff, but that's more formatting, right? So what I'm going to do here, I just want to sort of wrap up this process that we've been involved in here, setting up the 3 media queries and really wireframing things out. I'm going to get rid of all this extra space that I threw in. Again, that was just to kind of give you a better view of my code here. There we are, something like that. So we have all 3 media queries set up for the wireframe, right? So what we would want to do at this stage of the game, very similar to where we were at the end of the Illustrator process, I'll call it, the wireframing process from Illustrator, is we'd want to show this to our boss, to our client, to our coworkers, whoever we're working with, and say, this is how it's going to behave. And they'll say, well, I don't want blue text and I don't want it to be underlined. You say, well, hold on, that's design. We'll mess around with fonts, we'll adjust sizing and so on later. Before we get to the dress up stage, I want to make sure that everything is functioning the way you want in terms of, you know, how things are scaling, how things look inside the browser window. If I scale it all the way out to, you know, the high resolution, something like this. Let me see if I can get this guy to cooperate here. Crank this guy all the way out. There we go. This is how it's going to look on a desktop computer, you know. This is how it might look on a tablet device. And of course on a smartphone, perhaps something like this. So let them play with it a little bit. And what you want is confirmation that this is indeed what they're after before moving ahead. Okay, and you'll likely get questions like, well, where's the logo going to go? Well, the logo is going to go where I showed you back when we finished the Photoshop process, right? And they say, well, I want a photo here. I don't want a big gray box. And you say, right, this is the placeholder for the photo. I'm going to drop the photo in there for you, but I just want to make sure that this is functioning the way you want before I take the next step, which is the dress up phase of the design process. Okay, so now that the wireframing is complete for all 3 media queries, all 3 devices, we can now take what we have here, the structure that we have. Think of a building, that's the metaphor I always use. Now we can start throwing some paint on the walls. Now we can start picking out furniture. Now we can start hanging pictures on the walls as well. So that's what we have next, but of course, that's the metaphor. We're going to be doing this via CSS.